Welcome to Psychic Holistic Spotlight. I'm Kathy, your host for today, and we also have Josie Way and Ken Demers today with us as co-hosting, and we have Patti McGarrahan, which is a repeat guest on the show. She's been doing stuff for so long, though. There's never-ending topics with her as well. So today, nothing further from the truth, right?
Right.
So today, though, we're going to talk about, signs, though, from the spirit side when someone passes away, how they let us know that they're still around and how much, they're willing to do for us, though, from that side as well, though, too. And any messages they might bring forward, or when they're doing that as well. So, Patti, how did we get started on this with the mediumship for the signs?
I got to tell you something. I started to realize that when certain people passed, that it was the same energies that were coming around me, the winged ones and that kind of stuff. And it amazed me how it went, and it would be so consistent. And then I started having, when I was doing mediumship readings, I would have it when my mother comes, it's always a butterfly. Or when my mother comes, it's always a cardinal, And so people that were aware of it were noticing that it was the same ones that were coming.
A lot of times it'd be like new things that would come in, like all of a sudden you keep seeing butterflies or something.
And then I also began to notice too, particularly the men, they like to be jokesters and they like to play with electronics a lot of time, and they also like to hide our stuff. So you think you put your keys down on the table and they're not there. If you know who to yell at, then they usually let you know where the keys are, even though they've been moved.
Yeah.
So it's pretty cool. And it's still, every time something like this happens to myself personally, or when something comes up and a client is oohing and ahhing, it's so exciting because I just, when this wonder happens and it gets me so excited, when that ends, then I'll stop doing this. But I still get so revved up when it happens.
Yeah, because always there's always someone passing away, or someone's looking for like a message from someone they haven't seen in a while, though, or such. Recently, with me, my grandmother passed away about a week and a half ago, from the recording of today, and I think it was about almost 4 hours after she had come to me, standing straight. This woman is 93 years old when she passed away. I don't remember the last time she stood up straight. So, but I'm a medium as well, though, so I saw her in my mind's eye. But, it's like, sometimes, though, it's happened to me, though, they keep playing the same song, that reminded me of them. Or like something, you go to the store, though, and like you keep seeing the same thing, though, but like the way it was written, it definitely would have been like, my uncle that passed away. Something that he would have said, or that random smell of smoke.
And when I'm doing readings, sometimes they do say exact words, and the people will sit there and say, it was the strangest thing because before they came in, their loved one, something came on and those words came out.
Yeah.
So they recognize it. I've also had a recent loss, and in this recent loss, it was the strangest thing. It's almost like they have a plan for us ahead of time. So the week before I lost my daughter, about a week, I went to do a reading, and a lady had her grandmother came through, and I saw a butterfly wing. I felt the flapping and everything of the butterfly wings, and I said to her, "Ooh, when your grandmother's around, notice the butterflies that are around." And she said, "Yes, it's always white butterflies." And this totally blew my mind because I've never seen a white butterfly in my life. So I'm sitting there to myself, sitting there saying, I don't want to judge the person, but I'm thinking moths, you know? So 2 days later, I have another reading, and they turn around and they go, "Oh, yes, when my daughter comes through, I see white butterflies." And I'm like, 2 in 2 days that have moths mixed up with butterflies?
Yeah.
So 3 days later, I read a third person that tells me when their mother comes through, it's white butterflies. And I'm sitting there saying to myself, well, this can't be right. So unfortunately, I lost my daughter, and I went to my other daughter's house after going to the hospital, and I had my grandson with me. We stepped on my patio, and a white butterfly flew around the two of our heads.
You must have been so excited.
It was, I said to Colin, he had heard the story, because he's a medium as well, so we tell him a lot of the stories. And I said to him, I said, that's your mom giving us a message that she's okay. And he was like so excited by the whole thing too.
Yeah.
So those things are so reassuring that it's crazy. But that was the one time that I really think that there's a pre-plan.
Yeah.
So when I have never in 30 years heard anybody talk about a white butterfly, to have it happen 3 times in 1 week, and then 2 days later have my daughter pass and have a white butterfly.
Yeah.
And every time I went to the school to pick him up, I always went there like a zillion hours early because I'm a helicopter grandma, and there would be a white butterfly would circle my car every day. It was just absolutely amazing, and I just cherished it. And that's I was telling Josie beforehand. It was so cool because when I told that story, it was very reassuring to other people because once you become aware of it. Now, as much as I do this, my husband, when he passed a couple of years ago, he's one of those people, he's a very odd duck, and he likes who he likes around him, but he didn't want like a big deal done for his thing. So he gave me some rules and regs, but I wasn't sure. So I made a decision on what I was doing, and we were going down to Ender's Island, and we pull off, and I said to my daughter, I turned to the daughter actually that passed, I turned to her and I said, I said, I hope I'm doing what he'd want me to do. And she turned to me and she said, Mom, look at the rearview mirror. And there was a dragonfly. And my husband did a lot of years in the service, National Guard, a lot of them. And there was the one that looked like the camouflage with the green, the brown, and the gold. So it totally blew my mind. And the dragonfly stayed in my rearview mirror all the way
while you were driving.
While I was driving.
Wow.
I've never had that happen at all. Another thing that I had happen too.
How often do you see white butterflies?
I've seen them constantly since September. Not now that it's cold.
Butterflies.
White butterflies. And
They're little.
I never saw them.
Yeah, I've seen them.
I've never seen
And
one.
if you actually look close to the body, it almost looks like there's one drop of like yellow, like a light yellow, like towards the body, but then the wings are white.
They exist.
Yeah, never saw them before.
Yeah, I can't remember ever seeing. I live in the country.
I see them all the time by my house.
Do you? I never saw them, but boy, I see them now. Like it's crazy.
Okay. How old's your grandson?
My grandson is 10.
Okay.
Yeah, so he's going to be a medium times 10 if he so chooses. We keep him very protected now.
How did he get started?
He woke up at night and just told us things, and including he also told us stuff. When he was born, he like 1.5 years old, he was telling us that he woke up and he went into battle, and the kid had never watched anything but Disney Junior and Nickelodeon Junior, and he's describing, what he wore for protection, do you know what I mean, and everything in war, and he'd wake up scared. And by 3 years old, he was being scared by, he called it a crocodile witch, which I do believe that it was like alien energy type of thing. And the crocodile witch one day we went for a walk and we found a blue jay feather, and he started shaking with excitement, and he said, this is going to help. And he put up the crocodile, the feather, and when he put up the feather against his lamp, 3 days later I noticed the feather was missing. And when I noticed it was missing, I said to him, what happened to the feather? And he said, the good crocodile witch came and put up a blue wall. Grandma, she told me I don't have to worry about the bad crocodile witch in this lifetime. Now, where does a 3.5-year-old kid come up with that? It
Sounds like the reptilian energy, though.
Yeah,
of the aliens.
And I am a big believer of it. I'm not overly connected to it. I have once tranced alien energy, but as a whole, I'm not like overly connected to it. But I was like amazed, and my daughter and I and my other daughters, when she was moving out, she stayed with me because she had rheumatoid arthritis and trying to get him out of the tub. She was scared she'd slip, so as soon as he could get out of the tub and everything, she went to our own house. And it was so crazy because when she went to move, there were 4 of us trying to find that feather, and it was gone.
Yeah.
The blue jay feather, it was MIA.
Yeah.
He wasn't kidding. So it's amazing. So somebody from the other side was protecting him too.
I'm into feathers.
You're into feathers. Yeah, feathers are huge.
The best one was
For a lot of people
I
it
walked
is,
out
yeah.
of my house. I own peacocks, right? But I walked out of my house, and an 18-inch long peacock feather hit me right in the top of the head. But there was no
Somebody
peacocks.
was trying to get your
There was
attention.
somebody up above me.
Yeah.
Somebody wanted your attention for sure.
Yeah, the
I-
feathers
there's
are very
just-
common
There's nobody
sign.
up there. So
Yeah.
So the first time I'd ever heard about the dragonflies being a sample is a friend of mine had her son die in a motorcycle accident, and she went in on his boat into the water, and a dragonfly sat in the boat with her for two and a half hours that she and her husband were in his boat and stayed with her. And it was so crazy cool because it was so reassuring to them. But then we went up to Laconia on the motorcycles, and I turned to my husband. I kept seeing the son Michael's face on other bikers, you know, my mediumship stuff. So I kept seeing them on different bikers.
The Archangel Michael, you said?
No, Michael, the boy that passed.
Oh, okay.
I kept seeing,
okay.
I'm so glad you asked that. I kept seeing his face, and I said to my husband, there's going to be something where there's a big accident or something, and Michael's watching over us. I said, because he had passed in an accident. So I said, we're going to be extra careful. He goes, okay. We go from there over to Dunkin' Donuts, because with my husband, we lived at Dunkin' Donuts. So this dragonfly, a blue dragonfly, exactly like what they had said, landed on my, on the engine of the bike. And to the point where it had to be about 15 people coming over looking, because the dragonfly stayed for half an hour and then flew away. We all got on our bikes and headed towards Laconia. And when we did, there had been a huge accident, and there were bikes everywhere. And a truck crashed, and a total
Oh, I
mess.
think I heard about that though in the news.
Oh.
Yes.
this
Yeah.
is the one where the kid went to sleep or
Something.
I can't.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
I
And
remember.
so they had that huge accident. Well, this whole group at Dunkin' Donuts missed it, thanks to Michael. And I took a picture of it and sent it to his parents. And another real strange incident was, and I forgot about this until you just asked a couple of questions. And I'm very connected to red-tailed hawks now.
Yeah.
And one of the reasons that same, and I swear this happened so that this gentleman could help him with the grieving with the son.
Okay.
His father had passed, and he had been a not so good kid, do you know what I mean? To the point where he landed in jail at a time with his father being the chief of police, you know, how you have that with the kids, you know?
That's tough.
And then he got married, had 5 kids, had a business, and was a real good person. I mean,
He got it all out of his system early.
he got it out of his system. But he always felt like there was certain things that he and his father didn't talk about that they should have resolved in that. Do you know what I mean? And he should have apologized to him or said something. So when his father died, his wife called me up and said, oh my gosh, his grieving. Patty, what can I do to help? So she said, I'm trying to tell him this red-tailed hawk has hit our farm. She had a farm like Hope Valley Way. She said, I keep trying to tell him that's his father. And his father was a real Irishman in the red-tailed hawk with the, you know,
Okay, with the red hair, yeah.
So it kind of fit,
Yeah.
you know? And so I said to her, and this was Spirit speaking for me, because I would have never just said this because I'd be afraid I was wrong, you know? I said, Deb, stand at the doorway with Norman just behind you. Tell the hawk to circle the farm 3 times, and on the 3rd time, drop a wing feather for you, for Norman, from his father. And then after that happens, ask him to circle 3 more times and drop a tail feather for me, because I wanted the feather. So, do you know the next day, that's exactly what happened. The hawk went around and 3 times, and he said if it wasn't so specific, he would have never believed it. So Spirit knew what he needed, you know? So he always knows when the hawk comes through,
Yeah.
you know?
And that's why the ask and shall receive though, when you need something though, just ask for it, yeah.
And they pick strange things, like my parents come through most of the time as robins, and it's because I rescued a robin when I was a little kid, brought it home, and my father set the wing. Now my mother hated birds, but she loved me, so she put up with the fact because I used to bring home
A lot of presents.
Frogs covered in fungus and cry until she took it to the vet. You know what I mean? I was always bringing home something. So this robin, we set it. And after about 4 weeks, I'm sitting under the oak tree in my front yard with paper dolls or whatever, with the robin hopping around me. And another robin came and it left me for another robin. And I sobbed. So my mother actually got me a parakeet so I could have a bird in the house. To stop me from crying because I was so upset. So I thought it was funny because they came through as robins and spirit, and they let me know whenever I see robins standing in snow, I know that my business is going to go like that.
It's
Something
gonna be
big's going to
better,
happen, yeah, in snow. I don't know why. And they come through. But I had this funny thing happen. I had a blue spruce that my father planted, and every day he came and he made sure it was perfectly straight. And I had it for like 30 years, you know? So one day I'm seeing a little rot on the blue spruce, and I had to take my dog and my grandson. We go to visit the litter mates of this dog we rescued. We take him to go see his brothers because we're crazy. They exchange Christmas presents as well, by the way.
That's great. That's great.
On the way back, the dog and my grandson were antsy, and I had like across this rug that I had to be on a main road, and I was leery of doing it. And I was so grateful because I came back the other way and I saw the rot was horrendous on the other side. And I had somebody take that tree down, and we had such a horrible windstorm about a week and a half later. 2 of my neighbors had trees go through their house. So I really think that that tree would have gone through my house if I hadn't had that happen. And I think spirit, I also believe that was a sign them helping, making the kid and the dog antsy so I wouldn't go on the main road and I would see the rot. So I planted one of those dwarf red maples, and I bought it like in October, so you get them a lot cheaper then, but your chances are it may not be so hot, you know? So the top was not having buds put on it, which was making me a little sad. So I turned to my parents, because I guess I still made it, that hole was theirs because they had built the blue spruce in. And I said to my parents, will you do me a favor? I said, will you come and help this tree so we get some plants on the top, some leaves and buds on the top? And for the first time, I had never seen a cardinal in my yard ever. And I had a male and female cardinal sit on top of that tree.
Oh, so your parents had passed already by this point?
Yeah,
okay.
oh yeah, they were passed. I stood on top of the tree, and it was like 3 days later, I had all buds. So not only can you recognize that they bring in symbols and stuff like that and let you know they're around, if you ask them, they'll also help you, you know, with some crazy stuff. And I call myself the healthy skeptic because I have to test everything out. I am terrible about having to test everything out. You know, they say you just have to ask them not to, or you just have to ask your
that's the accountant in you. That's the accountant in you.
Yes, yes. I do have that left side of the brain. And so I have to test it out. And it's just so incredible. And it's, I was at a group mediumship, and these 2 red cardinals used to wrestle in this tub. And when I do bigger shows, I get a little concerned about it because I was telling Kathy, I feel bad when everybody doesn't get a reading, you know, when you do big groups. So I let people like pick raffle tickets, and so where I do some quick connects, direct connects to them. And this woman did this connect that she wanted to know about her father, and it was the funniest thing because I turned around and said, he's coming through as a cardinal, but he's coming through as 2 male cardinals, and they're wrestling and fighting in a bird bath. And I said to her, and you know what? It's because, and he's laughing because he said it's your 2 sons. He's imitating your 2 sons.
Oh.
And she couldn't stop laughing because every morning for like certain times of the year, there would be these 2 red cardinals fighting in the bathtub, just like her 2 boys wrestle and fight. You know what I mean?
That's so funny.
And they came there every day. So that's so exciting to people when they can figure out, you know, what comes through.
Here's one for you.
What?
Sunday, I was down my farm. There was 2 bald eagles sitting in a tree. I don't see a lot of bald eagles around here, but there was 2 of them
That's
sitting
what,
there.
you know, again, somebody's watching over you.
Oh, they were looking at us.
My favorite thing, though, when I remind people is the like old random memories that come into your mind.
I love that.
That's them. That's that specific person that's in spirit to letting you know that they're with you. In that point in
Absolutely,
time.
absolutely. And that's a good point, because that's something that you have to remember. And the other thing that'll come up is you'll have those own memories, and then you'll run into somebody that was a friend of your father that'll sit there and tell a story.
Yeah.
And you're like, what the
I
heck?
forgot about this memory. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's so funny because the fact that it came up when you had just had that you know,
Yeah,
some
we're just
memories
thinking
come
about
up,
that. Yeah.
and then somebody will bring it up. And what I tell people is, the sooner you figure out that no coincidence is a coincidence, and as soon as you figure that out, life is so good.
Yeah.
You
Life is easier to
see
manage.
so much, so many things, and everything falls into place. You just have to recognize it and say thank you.
Absolutely.
Don't forget to say thank you.
Always say thank you, because the more you say thank you, the more they help you out.
Yeah,
sometimes, too.
really, I've noticed that myself,
as
too,
soon,
yeah.
As soon as you appreciate them, and I must say thank you, Mom and Dad, thank you, Angel Spirit Guides. I mean, I'm thanking them constantly, because they are just so good to me. I'll have a day that I have something where I need to do readings and stuff, and I'm exhausted.
Have you ever tried talking to them?
To the animals,
Yeah.
yeah, I talk to animals all the
And
time.
what do they say back?
They tell me stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's, I guess you would call it animal communication.
I do animal communication as well, Ken.
Oh, okay, I didn't.
Yeah, I actually, a couple of rescues use me to communicate with them, because a lot of times I can tell them what the animal is thinking. Do you know what I mean? So I've done really good.
To kind of correct their behavior.
Absolutely, absolutely. So the person, I had one silky terrier, and it had been brought back twice, so the third time is not the charm. They get put down. And the girl that's the head of it doesn't like any dogs put down, so she called me up, and she had me talk to the lady. Sometimes I have to go to them in person, but most of the time I can even do it over the phone. And I turned around and I said to her, the dog's trying to please you, but the people that took care of it did not give the dog any boundaries whatsoever and doesn't know, so it's going to the bathroom right by the bed. And she thought it was happening because the dog wasn't happy there. It's because she had a dog that whenever it wanted to punish mommy and daddy, that's what they did.
Yeah.
So when I explained to her what it was, she treated the dog differently with it, and it didn't have the ability to hold it any length of time because it was never taught how to be housebroken, even though it was like 5-6 years old. You know, so as soon as she knew how to react to it, my favorite story is I had a girl that's a regular at my place, and she actually helps me with my newsletter. She called me up and she said to me, I knew I could work with dogs, but I wasn't 100% sure with cats. And even though this is a little off the subject, but as long as we brought it up, the cats, she moved in with her fiance. She had 2 cats, he had 1 cat, and all hell was breaking loose. So I used to call his cat the alpha cat. I mean, he really was like a cool cat. Like he just, and they laughed because this cat doesn't usually like people other than his owners, you know, and he loved me and tried to go home with me, you know, but he was like the cool cat. He was the outdoor cat, and he went and he did his prancing, and he was the cool cat. Then I called it Fat Cat and Little Cat. Now, Fat Cat, they thought was trying to fight Alpha for Alpha, but it wasn't. Little Cat wanted to become an outdoor cat. Now, I got all my information from Cool Cat. He told me the whole story. So Little Cat would be like right up the butt of
Trying to get out the door.
because it wanted to be an outdoor cat, even though they weren't allowing it. And Fat Cat was protective over it. So Fat Cat felt he had to protect. He had no interest in being alpha cat. He liked to be lazy cat, you know? So as soon as they realized it wasn't an alpha situation, they started doing a couple of things. They started walking the little cat once in a while so it would have some time outside. And they lived right near a main road where alpha cat knew its way around the street, so that one would have probably gotten hit in that neighborhood. So they walked it, And sometimes when it would be being fresh, they crated it for a little while, do you know what I mean, until they trained it. And she called me so excited. Within weeks later, the whole house had settled down and all the cats were behaving. So, and the other thing that I do find too, dogs that have come up from the south, some of those dogs have been through some really rough stuff.
Have they been what?
They came from the south. They've been through
After
some
the
real rough
floods.
stuff. And what happens is a lot of them puppy mills, and stuff like that. So they've been either caged, or I had a dog that was tied to a doghouse the whole time. So what happened is the dog was used to 3 sides. So I was wondering why my dog was biting the couch, and like we tend to do in our lives, we forget to do our own stuff. Like I forgot to talk to the dog. And then I got called over to Newport, and I was doing a house party, and the 6th reading was a dog. And I'm like, really? And so this is like 20 years ago. And I sat there and I talked to the dog, and the dog told me the woman that was with the puppy mill was always like backhanding her and like really a terrible, terrible person. So she always had to be on the lookout.
Now, the owner of the dog was listening to this?
Yeah. No, it wasn't the owner of the dog that was rude. It was when I lived down south.
But
Oh, yeah.
Before the corona.
she could hear what her dog was saying.
I didn't do the dog privately. So anyway, the dog was telling me that it needed 3 sides protected. So I came home and talked to my dog, and my dog said the same thing. It was used to only having to protect its front. So it was petrified and couldn't sleep and rest. So that's why it was neurotic.
Okay.
Because it couldn't sleep and rest. So I put a barrier. My husband was the dog's favorite person, so I blocked the bottom of the bed, so he was next to the bed and had 3 sides. Started sleeping and was the most wonderful pet you ever met. And the same thing happened to the one in Newport.
And then could you gradually move the sides off of it?
No, kept it for her whole life. Yeah, kept it for her whole life.
No big deal.
Yeah, well, I got her at like 5, so by then I wasn't going to change her.
Yeah, she's
You know,
already set
I
in her
kept
ways
it.
at 5 years old.
Absolutely, absolutely. But back to the symbols and the stuff, that is, and like we were also talking about music and songs.
Yeah.
You'll have the radio change to a song that just makes you think of, your loved one. And you'll be on HKY, and all of a sudden you have it switched so that you have like big band era, and you got Henry Mancini playing, and you're sitting there saying, "Oh my God, my dad just switched."
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, without you paying attention to it, yeah.
It's so exciting. The other thing that's funny too is my husband always changed the clocks at my place. And when we changed the hours, it was
Yeah, the
changed
daylight
clocks.
savings, yeah.
And I have this one clock that I just love to death, and I'm such a klutz, I'm afraid. It plays music, and it has angels that go around in circle, and worlds that open up, and all that kind of stuff. So anyway, I take it off. I go to take it off, and I say to Joe, "Help me." So the first time I go to do it, I take it off just fine. The second time, he decides he's going to be fresh, and I can't get the thing off. So I said to him, "Knock it off, I need help." It came right off. Do you know what I mean? And the third time he did it to me again, and I said, "It's not funny anymore," and it just worked out again. So it's crazy, but it's kind of fun too,
Yeah.
These loved ones are still so close to you, and you don't even realize it. But as I said, when your kids take a walk off the kitchen table, when you know you put it down and went somewhere else.
Oh, he was dead?
Yes.
I thought, the way you were telling the story, I thought he was alive.
I talk to him like he's alive.
Help
I
him.
yell at him like he's alive. He laughs at me and says I'm still a full-time job, that kind of stuff. But when you have something and you lose it, do that. Tell him that, if you call the right person and you say, "Oh, come on, just let me know where they are," boom, you just know where to look. It's just so cool.
Yeah.
I had my son played little tricks, and I said, "From now on, you can play your little tricks, and we'll have some fun, but never touch my keys. Never touch my keys.
Yeah, there's the boundaries there, though, on the keys. That's the boundary.
I love that. I love that. Yes. So.
I just want to add in though too though with asking for the signs. My cousin had passed away a few years ago, and my aunt though she's the generation of my family that kind of I have a hard time understanding this stuff, but she was open to it, and she knows what I do. And my aunt kept telling me, it's like, your cousin hasn't come to me yet. And, she was expecting like in her dreams or something. That's one of the easier ways, as we know though that.